Sometimes a person has every reason in the world to give up. But just one reason can be enough to keep them going. Jack was born into a home where poverty wasn't just a problem. It was a way of life. His family lived in a tiny rundown house in one of the oldest parts of the city. Whenever it rained, water leaked through the roof. When winter came, cold air slipped through the broken windows. And there were nights when there wasn't even enough food for everyone to have 2 meals a day. Jack's clothes were so old and worn out that kids in the neighborhood would laugh at him. But the hardest part was watching his parents suffer. His father had worked hard for years doing manual labor, until one day illness left him bedridden. He needed treatment, but Jack's family didn't have the money. Sometimes they barely had enough to eat. His mother was weak too. One night, Jack saw his mother sitting beside his father crying. She quietly whispered, "If only we had enough money to get him the treatment he needs." Jack stood silently behind the door, listening to every word. That night he made a decision. I was born poor, but I won't die poor. The next morning he went out looking for work. Sometimes he worked at a small store. Sometimes he carried boxes in a warehouse. And sometimes he worked late into the night cleaning. Work during the day, dreams at night. He wanted to start a small business. But there was one problem. He had no money to invest. People laughed when they heard about his dreams. One man even looked him straight in the eyes and said, "Guys like you don't start businesses, Jack. Guys like you just try to survive." Those words hit Jack like a punch to the chest. But he didn't argue. He just smiled and went back to work the next day. Eventually, he saved up a little money and started something small. A few weeks later, everything fell apart. Every dollar he'd saved was gone. People laughed again. "We told you. You can't do it." Jack went home that night. His father was lying in bed, barely strong enough to speak. Jack sat beside him. His father reached for his hand and said softly, "Son, don't be afraid of failure." Tears filled Jack's eyes. His father continued, "I'm not afraid that you'll fail. I'm only afraid that you'll stop trying." Those words stayed with Jack forever. The next day, he got back up. He failed again. Then he got back up. He failed again. And for years, that's how it went. Sometimes people betrayed him. Sometimes he lost his money. Sometimes he got fired. And sometimes he became so exhausted that he thought, "That's it. I can't do this anymore." But every time, he remembered his father's words, "Don't stop trying." So he kept going. Then one day, the biggest opportunity of his life finally showed up. Jack had spent years developing a business idea that nobody believed in. He put every dollar he had left into it. People laughed again. But this time, Jack didn't stop. He worked day and night. 1 year, then 2. And suddenly, a major company offered to buy his business. The boy who once didn't have enough money for 2 meals a day was now the owner of a company worth millions of dollars. But that wasn't the most beautiful moment of his success. One day, Jack went back home, walked into his father's room, and placed enough money in his hands to finally get the treatment he needed. Tears filled his father's eyes. He pulled Jack into a hug and said only one thing, "I knew it. My son would win one day." Years later, Jack stood in front of thousands of people at a major event, telling them his story. And sitting in that audience were the same people who had once laughed at him. Jack looked at them quietly, then smiled. "You told me so many times that I couldn't do it. And maybe there was a time when I believed you." He paused, then said, "But life taught me one thing. Failure doesn't mean you're finished. Failure only asks, are you willing to get back up?" if the whole world doesn't believe in you today, keep going anyway. Because sometimes success is only one more try away, and that's the lesson Jack's life left behind. Poverty can be your starting point. Failure can be part of your journey. But giving up, that's your choice. Never give up.